welcome everybody to the Northeast Research Station. This is our first annual peanut production field day. This kind of came about just like a lot of things. Ariel Frazier and Ariel's got 2 growers up in Madison, East Carroll. We were talking about it one day and we just said, let's just plant some peanuts at the station. That's kind of how we got into row rice and a little bit of everything. Why not? Let's just do it. So we made a couple calls. We got Dr. Daniel Stevenson, we got Dr. Trey Price, we got Dr. Boyd Padgett. They know a lot about peanuts. And we got Bruce over there, who's the peanut washer. And so everybody knows more than me and Ariel, so we're out here just having a peanut day. But anyway, this is going to be the first one, hopefully, of many to come. And as always, we appreciate everybody, the work that the crew here at the station did to put this on, to help us with it, with growing the peanuts. Anybody wants to can come by and look at them. Just give me a call, and you can look at anything else we got here on the station. But just welcome. We're going to get started now. I got Dr. Melissa Cater here. She's Regional Director in the Northeast region, and she's going to stay up and
I think Dennis may have said everything I wanted to say. No, really. I do want to say welcome also. You know, when I started asking about, well, how many peanuts do we have in the Northeast region? When I got the information back from Dennis, thank you, we've got over 2,800 acres of peanuts in the Northeast region across 5 parishes, East Carroll, Madison, Morehouse, Richland, and Ouachita. So that's quite a bit of peanuts, really, when you stop and think about it, given that 5-parish area. One of the things that I'm really just excited about is just the teamwork that this group here exhibits. You know, when you look at the team, Dr. Price, Dr. Stevenson, Dr. Padgett, Bruce, Ariel, Dennis, the entire team works so well together. Kylie, they just really pull it all together and make some really unique and awesome experiences available to everyone, both on station and virtually. And I think that's really our path forward, is looking at the virtual delivery too, for all those who can't be here today for whatever reason. So I'm really just thankful for the team here and how well they all work together. Appreciate all the hard work that they've put into today and all the research that's gone on ahead of today, the work and all that, that got us here. So all that to say, thank you very much for attending or for watching this all virtually. We're very pleased to have you.
Can you hear me? So I'm Boyd Padgett with the LSU Ag Center. I'm the peanut specialist for the state. I'm also a plant pathologist. I'm located at the Dean Lee Research Station. I do have statewide responsibilities. What I'd like to visit with today with y'all a little bit about what we've seen. Dr. Price and I, we toured the Northeast region peanut growing areas last week, and the crop looks really, really good. We're seeing a little bit of white mold in the field. This is a soil-borne disease that we have to deal with. It's probably the #1 disease that we have to deal with in the state as far as diseases are concerned. Dr. Price will address some research that we're conducting across the state on this station here, as well as at the Macon Ridge Station and also off station. We got a pretty good lineup, Dennis. I appreciate the agenda you put together. I think we have we're going to cover a lot of different production things as far as producing peanut. Something I'd like to address, though, talking a little bit about production. What do we do at planting? We need to plant peanut when the soil temperatures are about 65 degrees at the 4-inch depth. And I say that, and that's common for a lot of different crops. We have had some issues where people jump out and plant a little bit too early. What normally occurs is that the crop emerges later, as you would imagine, and by the end of the year, the crop that was planted under ideal conditions, it all evens out. So just remember that we need to plant when the soil conditions are favorable for germination. Another thing is we don't want to harvest, we don't want to dig our peanut too early. That can result in some yield loss. And I think, Bruce, you're going to address some of that. So I won't go into any kind of detail as far as that is concerned. Another thing that we see, and the questions that I have, are what about foliar feeding insects? We have seen that peanuts can take a tremendous amount of defoliation. Leps can be as high as 8 per row, per foot a row, which is quite a bit. So peanuts can take up to 20-30% defoliation and still not affect yield. So just realize if you do start an insecticide program, you're probably going to have to follow through it for the remainder of the year. A couple of things I just want to kind of end with is what about our fungicide applications? How do we make a fungicide application? When you're applying fungicides for foliar diseases, typically you want that fungicide to stick on the plant. With soil-borne diseases, completely different. Do not use a surfactant. Don't use any kind of sticking agent. Ideally, if you can make that application prior to a rain, or if you have pivot irrigation, you can irrigate that fungicide down into the soil. And it's very important that you get that fungicide to the target site for maximum efficacy. I want to cover a few little resources that we have. Mississippi State has a variety testing program, and I would encourage you when you're making variety selection, if you do have a choice of varieties, you can go to this site. The Raymond location, I think it's the Brown Loam Branch Station, is probably going to be most representative of the areas that we produce our peanut. So I'd encourage you to get out and look at that. Arkansas also has some very good information for peanut production. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please contact your local county agent and we'll be out there to help you grow your peanut crop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. All right, our next speaker is Dr. Daniel Stevenson, weed specialist with the Ag Center.
Hello, my name is Daniel Stevenson. I'm Extension Weed Specialist with the LSU Ag Center, and I'm extremely excited to be standing here with peanuts behind me. I was raised on a peanut farm in South Alabama, so that's my first love, is peanuts. Although my family is not real partial to folks over here growing peanuts because they'd rather it stay the acres over there with them, but hey, I work for LSU right now. So peanut weed control really is not extremely difficult as long as you hit your marks. And one of the important things that you've got to do with peanuts, as with all crops, start clean and use a residual herbicide. Valor is a standard here that you can use in your peanuts. It offers good broadleaf weed control, but you can also add a lot of group 15s and even Prowl. For example, Dual or Warrant, Outlook, Zidua, that you can add in there from a pre-emerge standpoint. But the most important, and really the thing that tends to scare a lot of farmers here in Louisiana when I talk to them about them, is the use of paraquat. Generally about 28 days after cracking. So from cracking, which means right when it's emerging, to 28 days after. That's where guys get spooked. And where I come from, it's not a big deal. Because you can burn the fire out of peanuts with paraquat, but they will survive. Trust me, they will come back. So behind me, you'll see a difference here. If you'll notice there on your right, you see that tall sickle pod that looks sick, and then on the left, you don't see any sickle pod. That is clearly from the use of using paraquat 28 days after cracking. That is the only treatment other than we came back with a little bit of Cadre, Ultra Blazer, and 2,4-DB to kind of help clean it up. That's why the sickle pod looks sick, but that shows you the power of using paraquat. So that's the next step in this system. That's the early post. So if you're in a bad pigweed area, or you've got a lot of other tea weed and things like that, with your gramoxone, you need to add Basagran because it actually siphons the gramoxone. So about 8 ounces of a 4-pound Basagran and with 12 ounces of a 2-pound paraquat. You can have your Dual, as I described earlier. Then, about a month after that, that's when we can follow it up, your late post. That's where your Ultra Blazer, your Cobra, maybe your Cadre fits in. Cadre is good if you've got nutsedge problems, as well as sickle pod you see here behind me, maybe a little bit of tea weed. If you've got a lot of vines and things of that nature, Ultra Blazer really fits in there well for you. You can also use another residual. That's where the Dual, the Warrant, the Outlook, the Zidua fits in there again to offer you some residual control. So you can see peanuts are really a 3-step weed control program, and there's not a lot of options. So start out Valor in some combination of a group 15 or Prowl. paraquat plus Basagran, about 21 to 28 days after cracking. You can put a residual with it there, and then 4 weeks after that. And 9 times out of 10, everything gets to work and you're going to have a clean crop. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. And if you have any problems, call your local county agent. They'll get up with me, and I'll be fired up to come see your peanut farm. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Okay, our next speaker, we got Mr. Ariel Frazier. He's county agent in Madison and East Carroll, and he's the reason we have peanuts. So, Ariel?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dennis. Dennis had asked me to talk about some irrigation work that I've been trying with some peanuts in Madison and East Carroll Parish the last couple of years since we've been there. I've been dealing with irrigation in corn and soybeans for the last 6, 7, 8 years, but it was all on heavy ground. So when we got to this lighter ground, it became a new ball game to me. And the last 2 years, I've been unsuccessful. I'll admit it. We would irrigate. We couldn't even see where it was working. No trigger our sensors at all. We first thought our beds was too high. We lowered our beds last year. We still couldn't get it to work. So I talked with them early on this year and said, look, let's try this surge valve. I've never used one. Everything I hear, it's our answer. And we did. And the surge valve I'm talking about is here. It's just a T that's got a computer on it that you program it to how often you want it to change. We use the watermark sensors here, and we use a data recorder that's got telemetry on it, so you can watch it from your phone anywhere in the world that you can get a cell phone signal. And it's worked really well for us. And the literature on the surge valve tells us that it lowers your watering time or reduces your watering time by like 5% or something. So we went into this field strictly unknown. The new field just got level. First year it's been planted since it was level. We went with peanuts on it. Set the sensors in, the surge valve, done a flow test on the well, run all that through pipe planner, got our estimated watering time of 36 hours. We punched our holes accordingly. It was an odd shaped field. First time they had ever used any of this technology, they enjoyed it. Loved the way it worked. We kind of give you an overview of what we've done. We installed these on the 24th day of June, and had a couple little light rains in between there. Decided to irrigate on the second day of July, and like anything else, as soon as we turned the irrigation pumps off, it went to raining. So we had, as you can see, this is our big black lines here, our 4 irrigation events so far this year. All these others is where it's actually rainfall has helped us from the July the 2nd till July the 28th, where we had to irrigate our second time. Of course, your blue is you got adequate moisture, or that's actually saturation. The green, adequate moisture to carry you. And of course, once we hit the red, it's time for a refill. Again, you can see, probably got a little anxious on the first couple of waterings there, not knowing, working off of the old schedule type program before we really got comfortable. The black line, I don't know if you can see this on the camera there. The black line is an average of all of these sensors together. That's kind of what you want to look at more than anything else for initiation of water. Probably was a little early here. We got another rain here. Then probably was pretty close to right here on this third watering, somewhere around the 10th to 11th of August. Our 8-inch sensor, our 4-inch sensor was the blue line, very, very high up into the red. Red, our 8-inch sensor was into the red. Our average was bumping the red. Our 12 and our 18 were still below, but approaching. We made that initial watering on the 10th, and as this hot, dry weather has stayed with us, it's really drying out. What's really interesting to me is, if you probably can't see it on the chart here, but you're able to stop and to look at it to see what level or what distance you're actually pulling most of your moisture from. In this, your 4-inch chart, you're going to get surface evaporation. We know that. But when you get on down here, this 18-inch is where it's pulling most of the moisture right now, is at 18 inches, which is interesting as you look at that as to what depth it's pulling. That's kind of always held true with cotton, corn, and soybeans if we've done it. you know, sometimes we worry about that top 4, 6, 8 inches. We really need to be worried more about that 12 to 18 inches is where the roots are actually doing most of their activity for us, pulling water. So again, we're very pleased with the surge valves. The first time in 3 years we've actually been able to trigger the sensors with a watering initiation. Next year, hopefully we can do it again, move it back into one of the fields where we were never able to trigger it. I think the rotation will bring us back to that first field next year, and would like to try it again, and I think the producers are on board. They're liking what they're seeing so far. So with that, if you have any questions about irrigation, give me a call. I'll be glad to help you any way I can. Surge valves, they're expensive, but they are worth the money. When we went from a 36-hour projected watering to less than 30 hours is what it actually took him to water this field out. So you got some savings there, and there's other ways you can do it without the surge valve if you're interested in it. Give us a call. We'll be glad to help you any way we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Ariel. And you know, we can help you with pipe planter, a lot of different things here. We can do a lot of things with irrigation, so give us a call. Okay, our next speaker, we got Dr. Paul Price, our regional pathologist. Trey or Charles?
Either one.
Either one?
Either one. All right, I'm Trey Price. I'm extension research plant pathologist here in the Northeast region. Actually ended up going all over the state, working in about 8 different crops. And this year was the first year that I had the opportunity to plant peanuts. I've learned a lot during this year. But we've got research trials in peanut at Macon Ridge Station and the Northeast Research Station here at St. Joe. So what you see behind me here is a simple fungicide trial. We've got non-treated plots, and we've got I went through everything I had in my chemical shed and everything that was labeled in peanuts, and we've got 11 fungicide treatments out here behind me. Fortunately, we do have some white mold out there that Dr. Padgett alluded to earlier. Soil-borne fungus, it's our biggest disease issue in the state. We rarely see early leaf spot or late leaf spot in the state. But what we've done is we put these treatments out. We'll probably come out with a second application and just do 2 shots of all the treatments and try. Hopefully, the disease pressure will build enough where we'll get some decent fungicide efficacy data for our growers. The other question we have from growers is the use of a plant growth regulator. It's sold locally as Kudos, and we have trials here at the St. Joe Station and the Macon Ridge Station. And what we've done is we have a research trial where we looked at different rates of that plant growth regulator. It's applied twice. You apply it once and then wait two to 3 weeks later and then apply again. And what the plant growth regulator does is it makes the rows seem more defined, so it helps with your harvest efficiency, where you can stay on the rows where you need to be with your harvesting equipment. And we have seen it's not so pronounced at the research stations, but on farms where these plant growth regulators have gone out, we have seen some increased row definition with the use of those plant growth regulators. As far as our own farm work, we've got 3 farms in Ouachita and in Morehouse parishes. The peanut growers were gracious enough to work with us this year. They told us kind of what they wanted to look at, and we made smaller trials on their stations, but with larger plots, so less treatments and larger plots. We've got, of course, non-treated plots. We've got 2 shots of tebuconazole, and we've got Elatus, which is a popular fungicide option, and we also have Elatus plus the plant growth regulator and the plant growth regulator alone. We do have disease pressure in those locations. Those are historical peanut farms, although they're on a 3-year rotation. Every 3rd year they have peanut, but we're taking data at early indications. I had the opportunity to look at the data this morning, and the fungicides seem to be effective in the fungicide treated plots, and we'll see if the producers are pleased with the growth regulator performance at harvest. With that, that's our peanut research we have going on in the state. Really happy to work with the growers, and we're thankful to the National Peanut Board for their funding. Also, very thankful to the Northeast Research Station and Macon Ridge Research Station crews and staff that they do an excellent job helping us out and helping us pull field days off. So with that, thanks.
Okay, our next speaker is Bruce Garner. I almost called you Bruce Coates. Bruce Garner. He is the county agent in West Carroll and Morehouse, and the majority of the peanuts or growers are in your actually acres is in your area. So he's going to talk about when to dig.
You know, that's a question that you have with peanuts is when as you're moving through the season and you get to start getting toward the end, you know your planting date, you know your maturity length on the peanut is when to harvest. There's a process called peanut blasting, and it's where we take peanuts, take a sample, we pull them up, pull them off of the plant. This is a sample of about 200. You blast them with a pressure washer. Now the thing about the pressure washer is you can't use one of your big pressure washers that you wash equipment with, because all you'll end up doing is making peanut butter in the bottom of your bucket. So you have to have something that's a little bit lower pressure, about 1700 psi, with an oscillating tip. And what you do is as you wash them off, the outside layer starts coming off of the peanut, and you're looking for that what's underneath that outside layer. You wash them down. There will be 4 colors essentially what you end up with. You get a white nut, you get a yellow nut, an orange nut, brown, and then black is the final. Let you know that you're mature and you're ready to go right then. We have a chart here from NC State Extension. They were gracious enough to send us this chart that they've developed for use in North Carolina in their peanut industry. I pulled a sample this afternoon out of this field, blasted them off, laid them out, and according to the chart here, we're about 10 to 14 days or 17 days away from maturity in this particular field. This gives you a good idea when you're getting ready to harvest for planting, because you know the whole process of harvesting is you bar the rows off, you invert, you hope for some good sunshine to dry those nuts down, and you put the combine in the field to knock them off. So everything's not going to get ready at the same time, but through planning, you can set your harvest up for success. Again, these posters are available. We got these through NC State. If you have questions about blasting peanuts, contact me, contact one of the county agents in Northeast Louisiana. We'll be glad to work with you, come out and blast peanuts with you and help you try to establish some harvest dates. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Okay, that concludes our field day, our peanut field day. We appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that came out. Everybody that wants to watch this and see what we're doing here at the Northeast Research Station. We appreciate the support from the Peanut Board. And thanks. If you have any questions, give us a call. Thanks.